Ladies and gents, my name is Brandon Stover. Welcome to the How to Solve Climate Change course from Plato University. Causes, systems, obstacles, solutions to this global challenge is what you're going to learn here today. When you're ready to learn more skills, join us for free at plato.university. Let's get started with today's lesson. We'll have our expert guests briefly introduce themselves and their credentials for why they are able to speak to this topic.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Cullen. I'm the president of the Electric Drive Transportation Association. We're a cross-industry transportation trade association. We represent the whole value chain of electric drive. I have been the president of this organization for over a decade, and I've been working in the clean transportation space for more than 20 years.
Can you explain succinctly what electric vehicles are from first principles?
So I will explain it to you as the lawyer and the English major that I am. So electric transportation is anything in which electricity moves the wheels, provides propulsion. And that is battery electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, which include battery as well as an internal combustion engine, plug-in hybrid vehicle, which is a battery and internal combustion engine, and it has the ability to get energy from the grid or another off-board source. It also includes fuel cell electric vehicles, because what a fuel cell does is it creates electricity through application of oxygen to hydrogen. So all of these are forms of electric vehicles.
Why would electric vehicles work or help to solve climate change?
Couple reasons. One, by definition, an electric vehicle starts at least 30% more efficient than an internal combustion engine. So it uses less energy to move about. Second, it is capable of using cleaner energy. So electricity can come from many sources: renewable, fossil, nuclear. In each of those instances, it's more efficient, so has less emissions than an internal combustion engine. But the cleaner the energy source, the cleaner the vehicle is. So today, no matter what, where you are in the country, no matter what powers your grid in your area, an EV is cleaner than the average internal combustion engine. And that's today. So, and unlike every other form of machinery, this one gets cleaner and more efficient over time.
Looking at the other side of the coin, why would electric vehicles not help to solve climate change or maybe fall short?
The only way electric transportation doesn't help to solve climate change is if we don't do it big enough, if we don't get to scale. Because in every instance today, if you buy an electric car and you're plugging it in, even if you're doing it in a place where there's coal fires grid, you are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. If we do this on scale, we address the largest source of emissions in the United States and in the world. It's transportation. So this is the path forward. It's scalable, and it's the only technology at the moment that has the potential to be scalable. So the only way it doesn't work is if we don't get enough vehicles on the road. So for instance, we're growing fast, right? EVs in the United States, there's 3.5 million on the road, but there are about 270 million cars, just cars, in the U.S. car park, they call it. That's the whole flock of vehicles in the United States. So it's going to take a while to turn over that fleet. So we got to replace the existing fleet and add and replace it with electric vehicles. So it's going to take some time. We've got to build infrastructure. We have to make sure it works in all different applications, from micro to macro, right? It's from 2-wheel to 18 wheels. So there's work to be done, and it's the only way we don't help reduce greenhouse gas emissions with EVs is if we don't do it.
And looking at the stakeholders involved with this, who's going to benefit most with electric vehicles being put in as a solution, and who might be harmed most by electric vehicles as a solution?
Well, as far as who benefits the most, that's all air-breathing organisms, right? So all of us all living beings who need to inhabit a planet that is rapidly warming. As we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we combat climate change. And this is like a substantial, and this is a powerful tool in taking on this enormous challenge. It also obviously reduces criteria pollutants, which normal speak is that's just dirty air. And the health and the public cost of air pollution is enormous. So cities benefit, drivers benefit from cleaner, quieter transportation that's cheaper to operate and maintain. They save money. So will the governments and businesses whose fleets driving on electricity. They pay less to fuel them, pay less to maintain them, and folks are seeing now and have been watching this through time. Actually, for people who drive for a living, driving electric is much easier on your person. There's just less not noise and air quality, but also the smoothness of the ride. It's less wear and tear on your joints. If you're a delivery truck driver, so it's micro and macro. And I didn't even get to the point of like as a nation we benefit from the fact is that if we finally move away from this over a century global vulnerability to this one commodity, I will go ahead and say its name, oil, which we are all, no matter how much we make, we are price takers, and we are at the mercy of the economics and the geopolitics of the global oil market. And so we are, we're more secure. We have a cleaner environment. It's more economically efficient. And if we do this right by investing in the United States, what we get is we establish our leadership in this is the market, the global market of the future. So those are all the folks who benefit, which is pretty much everyone. The people, on the flip side of the coin, there are, if you look at the incumbent industry that fuels fossil transportation, that, yes, there is change over time. And I think there's folks says there will be economic dislocation as those jobs switch from, the oil ecosystem to an electric transportation ecosystem. But there are, in fact, all of the folks in the many oil companies are essentially energy companies, right? So, for instance, Shell is in the business now of recharging. People are looking to provide what is the energy paradigm of the future. And that's where businesses will move to. So while there might be economic dislocation, there's also equal and better economic opportunity associated with it.
Looking at the parts and how they all work together, how does an electric vehicle work? I don't expect an entire mechanical breakdown, but a general for our audience to understand how these vehicles are different than your average vehicle.
So just the basics. And when we talk about when you think of a traditional car, that's an internal combustion engine, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Gasoline is blown up inside this this machine, and that energy of that is what provides the propulsion. There's a lot of intermediate hundreds of pieces that make that happen, but that's the basic thing. It's an explosion of gasoline that moves your vehicle. So in an electric vehicle, what you have is a battery and a motor. So the battery feeds the motor. Sometimes it's multiple motors. They put like 4 motors on the wheels. So what you get is, as opposed to gears and explosion, and this sort of like, think of when you put your foot on a gas pedal and you feel it move through the gears, right, as it rises. But an electric vehicle, like a light switch, because electricity is fully where it is, you flip the switch, it's 100% torque immediately, which is why you can get that neck snap of a really fast electric car. It's just, it operates, cleaner, more efficiently, and without having a series of explosions under your hood.
For us to reach that scale that you were speaking of earlier, what innovation in technology or policy needs to be put in place so that we can do that?
I love this question because this is right there in my strike zone. Because the fact is, this is about technology and markets and policy. We have although I've been doing this for what seems like a long time, but if the Leaf and the Volt just came to market at the end of 2009. So it's just been barely a decade that we've been in, had commercially available vehicles. And so we are trying to scale and innovate at the same time, which is a challenge, right? So we have advances in battery technology in the last decade have been amazing and have beat people's expectations in ways that, even scientific people were surprised at how much cost could be wrung out of battery production and how much performance could be gained. Just as an example, in 2010, the incremental cost of a lithium-ion battery was $1,000 a kilowatt hour. Now that number is under 200, and I think it might be under 1 now. The markets are not 100% transparent on that, but the fact is, so batteries are cheaper and they are performing better, getting more range out of them. We're getting more durability out of them. But that technology is continuing to evolve. Folks are looking at different chemistries and looking at solid state batteries, looking at sodium-based batteries, which would have greater range or greater durability. So we're going to keep innovating on that side. At the same time, charging infrastructure, we need a lot, right? That market needs to grow. We need to deploy that. It needs to be highly visible and equitable and ubiquitous. We probably need less infrastructure than people think we do, but at this beginning part, folks need to be able to see it. They want the confidence that no matter what, I'm going to be able to charge my car. They probably won't need to, but they want to be able to. They would. So we really need to build out charging. And as you know, this administration has made huge investments, $7.5 billion in interstate charging investments, which would be part of a private, accompanied by private investment. There's also tax incentives for deploying EV charging at homes and businesses and in public places. So we need to build that marketplace, and we need to make sure that consumers understand what electric transportation is, because there's still a lot to learn. And finally, we need, in the policy side of this, we need all of our policies to be pointing in the same direction, to be advancing technology and investing in R&D and reinforcing private investment in infrastructure and in expanding U.S. production. So that we need all of these pieces, because we are actually going to we are building a whole ecosystem, a supply chain. So we need, the immediate, like a consumer tax incentive, yes, but we also need R&D policy so that can help us diversify our supply chains through all the components and materials.
And speaking of those materials, a concern that comes up a lot is the sourcing of rare earth materials for batteries and whatnot. What does it look like now and for the future in that concern?
There's a lot of attention being paid to the materials supply chain for EVs. In many ways, it's not different. The lithium in your battery in your phone is not different. It's just about a question of scale. But as we build this value chain for EVs and what we hope to be, if we get to the scale we want, yes, there will be greater demand for these materials. And what that's going to take is threefold. You've noticed I like threes. So first, we need to innovate in away from materials that are technically, environmentally, or economically unsustainable, right? The way we did with catalytic converters and platinum in them, right? That all right, let's innovate away from challenging materials, and that's already happening. There are motors that don't use rare earths. Because rare earths go to the magnets, right? In the motor, not the battery. The lithium and cobalt go to our battery materials. So it's innovation. It's a policy, and it's about reduce, reuse, replace, recycle. So all of these valuable materials, we need to retrieve them and give them secondary and tertiary life. Like lead acid batteries are 99% recycled. And that's what we should be aiming for in batteries too. And based on the value of those materials, I think you can expect that industry to grow as well. And finally, yes, in extractive industries, everyone has to do better. There needs to be transparency, accountability, and the fact is the world is really watching us build this supply chain. So unlike some of our predecessors who have been sort of working in these extractive spaces for a long time, we're coming at this to build a new paradigm, right? That it is about ethical and sustainable supply chains in every sense of that word.
What are the best resources to learn more about EVs in relation to climate change?
So yes, so we have a consumer-facing website that's called goelectricdrive.org. But the Department of Energy has a really good sort of beginners walkthrough of the technology and why and benefits. And it's called the Alternative Fuels Data Center. If you just go to the Department of Energy's website, you'll find your way there. The EPA and Department of Energy also maintain something called fueleconomy.gov, and that has a lot of really cool tools where you can compare, like if I wanted a car that had these attributes and this much electric range, and you could compare it to other vehicles on the market and what you would save in gas, what sort of the comparison in range and cost. So that's a really useful site to look at. You can also go to the Union of Concerned Scientists. They've done a lot of great research doing the sort of, I guess, well to wheels isn't the right analogy anymore, but a life cycle emissions analysis of electric transportation. They've done it for years and they update it regularly. So they've done great research there, and they can also sort of track through, like by your own zip code, what does it look like where you live?
Right now, you're speaking to passionate students who want to actually solve problems like these. What top 3 skills should they study so that they actually have the ability to do so?
Thank you for letting me go after this 3 thing one more time, right? So building the EV value chain, it's a matter of technology, it's a matter of markets, and it's a matter of policy. So we need a lot of toolkits. So in the technology side, yes, engineers and people who can make all of these technologies work better. I'm thinking of the folks who are going to make dynamic inductive charging. Essentially, that's roads that charge your car as you drive. Right? So there's a lot of exciting innovation to be done there. We also need market development. So we need folks who are savvy about how do we build a marketplace? How do we make the economics of this work? How do we talk to consumers? Because this doesn't work if you don't buy that. And finally, the policy side. This is about taking all of those other smarts, that scientific and business acumen, and making that persuasive and visible to people in the policy sphere. What do we need to do about this, and how do we do it, and why does it matter? So those communication skills that really help policymakers to see what needs to come next, they're all parts of it. So I can hardly think of a skill that won't be needed here.
Any final recommendations for the audience?
I would only ask that you do your homework. We see a lot of sort of misinformation, or just sometimes it's just not well thought out. Sometimes it's carefully designed to be misleading. So when you read about growing the EV market, and there's a lot of folks bringing us a whole lot of Eeyore energy. Oh, we'll never make it. Not true. And look who's writing those papers, and do your homework. Be a thoughtful consumer of information, and that's really important.
To observe just how far electric transportation options have come, plan a day's transportation using only electric options like an electric vehicle, electric bike, or public transit. Outline your route, charging needs, and any challenges encountered. Reflect on the feasibility of transitioning to electric transportation.
Thank you for taking the How to Solve Climate Change course. If you want to learn the skills to solve this global challenge, join us for free at plato.university for exclusive content, extra resources, and actionable exercises with every lesson. This course was produced by Plato University, where students turn passions into purpose and learn skills to change the world. Learn more at plato.university.